Okay. All right, take two. So it's just come up telling me I got low power, but we'll be right. I'm sure we'll be right. We'll be right. Okay, week five. And hi, Morella. How is the audio? Is the audio okay? I better keep talking so that you can tell and assess the audio. Much better. Thanks, Jacinta. Excellent. Cool. So I've got this little Gidget thingy all set up. Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that when you did, because listening back and plus, you know, if I want to embed that content in the portal, which I usually do, and it sounds awful, not good for anybody. Okay, so I was saying, can't believe it's week 5. But here we are. And firstly, I just wanted to say a massive well done to those of you who've been sending your stuff in for me to have a look at. In particular, I'm so impressed with Kelly and the amount of work she has done. And I know that you're all doing it all self-paced and you all have my utmost admiration, but I needed to just acknowledge the impressive work that she's been doing. So well done. So week 5 with the client journey, this is something nobody spoke to me about for years when I first started my business. And I'm not sure when I finally got told, you know, asked what does, they didn't word it as the client journey. I can't remember how they worded it, and I converted it to the client journey. But in terms of, you know, where does your client first hear about you? How do they find you on your website? What are the steps they take? What is the client experience is probably what they said. And so with this, it kind of helps you reduce the amount of throwing things out there and hoping that they get found kind of thing. Because we all get told, you know, to create stuff and measure and test and measure and test and measure. And when we're just popping stuff out there without a sequence in mind, it's virtually impossible to measure whether things are working or not. And I found that out the hard way. So with this, as you will have seen through the portal, if you've had a look, this is all about knowing where clients first hear about you and guiding them. So having a clear idea of where they go and what they learn prior to reaching out to you for, you know, actual services. So sometimes people will jump all of these and they'll go straight to you and it's fine. But you need to consider the people who aren't ready yet or don't know that they don't know about you. They don't know that they've got a pain. They don't know that the pain that they've got can be eased. So we've had a look at that sort of thing. So thinking about where that ideal client is, so schools had a little bit of a look at that as well. We can think about, okay, so if they're hanging out in Facebook, if they're hanging out in LinkedIn, if they're hanging out on Pinterest or wherever it might be, depending on what your services are, and that's just social media. So you can also think about, are they attending significant board events or fundraising events or conferences? You know, where are they going to be? Where do you know that they hang out? And then how can you use that space to educate them about the fact that they may have, you know, to identify if they've got this pain. So asking the questions, do you feel like this? Is this what your day looks like? Is this the blocks that you have? Like, what are the problems you have? So asking them, is this you? And then if it is you, did you know that there is a solution? And did you know that I am the solution? And this is how you find out more, right? And this is how you get to know a bit more about me or how the services work. So what happens next when they first hear about you? So for each of you, it's going to be, that first point may be different. You may be starting, as I said, with a conference, maybe you're starting on LinkedIn. What happens when they hear about you? Do they get directed? So even brochures, for example, need to have a call to action. What's your call to action? Is it a question, a survey, an opt-in, or something like that that you've promoted through a brochure or through a social media post or a newsletter article? Is, you know, what is it and where does it take them? Does it take them to your website, to a particular landing page? How does it get them to then take further action? So is the action to call you? Is the action to book in for a consult? Is the action to sign up to your mailing list? And then what? And then what? And then what, right? So we've got the next part of this week is looking at the onboarding process. But that's actually down, you know, once you've got them actually knowing that they need you and that willing to hand over money to you. So that's after all this. Now, the client journey doesn't end there. You need to, you know, obviously have that onboarding process, the client management process and the follow-up process or closing process. But this we're looking at the moment is more that educating them about who you are and how you can ease their pain and guiding them to take particular steps. So, for example, some of you may be doing this course because you saw on social media that I was running some webinars. And you came along to the webinars and you started to build on that know, like, and trust factor. So you found the content in the post appealing. So there's the first filter. You signed up and you decided to attend and you were able to do that. That's another filter. I need you to be somewhat tech savvy. And then you attend the webinar. And then, of course, I follow up with you about, you know, what we can do, you know, and the Stellar course starting up. And it was all a little bit kind of full on really at this stage. I need to work on that sequence. But, you know, for some of you, that is how you got here, right? Others would have come along through word of mouth or have been a Virtually Yours member for however long and decided to do the Stellar course. They may have, but then of course, you know, they came in somehow. Most of my CRM contacts come in through downloading the free startup checklist. So I promote the free startup checklist using Facebook advertising at the moment. Previously, you know, it was just, I would talk about it every now and then, but now I have a more targeted strategy to get that out there so that people who resonate with that and they go, yeah, I need this checklist. I want to start up my VA business. You know, they're the people that I want to talk to. So they come in and they download the checklist and then I introduce them to myself and the services and give them some resources and, you know, start building that know, like, and trust factor. So you need to think about how you're going to be doing that. What is the sequence, you know, and it can be a bit frustrating because, you know, so for example, creating a Facebook ad is a whole rigmarole in itself. I highly recommend getting help from someone because just the logistics around it is quite confusing. Boosting posts doesn't seem to work. You need to do proper Facebook advertising. It doesn't have to be expensive. It just needs to be strategic in terms of targeting the right people. And then, you know, they've got to be able to go to a landing page. So you've got to be able to create a landing page. You've got to be able to have a form on that landing page. You've got to have the resulting document or webinar or solution to deliver and a way to deliver that, whether it's they get an email sent out or whatever they do, they're going to get an email sent out, or you run the webinar or you book in a consult call or whatever it is. So what are these steps that need to be taken? And then once you've done that, so they've got the opt-in or they've attended the webinar or they've had a consulting call, what's the next step after that? Because you don't want to be putting all this work in communicating with people and telling people, you know, in social media, telling them all about what you're doing and how you can do it without guiding them to then look at what you've got and take the steps to then feel confident to call you or book in with you and start that onboarding process. I mean, that's the whole point of doing it. So your assignment for this week is around thinking about some kind of opt-in. And opt-in's great because then you can start showing people what stuff you have and giving them tips and giving them advice and supporting them. Whether they buy from you or not is actually great that you can still help people. But you will have a percentage of them that then, you know, however long it takes. I've had people that were on my mailing list for like 2 years before they started buying stuff. Others that stayed on for a bit and then just went, no, it's not for me anymore. And, you know, you can't take it personally. They either don't resonate with you or your message, which is totally fine. Or in a lot of cases, stuff happens in their lives and it's just not relevant or not viable anymore. And they just go, right? Think about how often you unsubscribe from things. And it's never personal, or it's usually not personal. Can't think of anywhere it's actually personal, but I'm sure there's a couple out there. Anyway, so the idea is to create an opt-in that helps you build your contact list, because it doesn't matter what you do on social media, you cannot control who sees what. And yes, with email marketing, you can't really control it, but you've got a lot more control, and you do have contact details for those people so that you can send them stuff it's to their inbox. Whereas on social media, one, it could end tomorrow and we just don't know, and you don't have anyone's contact details. And two, you don't know when they're online. Yes, you can check and measure and all that sort of stuff, but it's all based on stats and whatnot. It's not fact. Well, stats are fact, but you know what I mean. I can't guarantee that you're going to see my post about blah, blah, blah. So we want to get them into your CRM so that you can then start connecting with them off social media. So the opt-in is to build that. The opt-in is also to educate them so that they start feeling that they know, like, and trust you to solve the problem that they have, and that they now understand that they have this problem and it can be solved. And then the last one is to make it so that it is a quality filter. Don't have an opt-in that solves everyone's problem, or an opt-in that's really generic. Have something that actually some people won't give a shit about and other people will love. VA startup checklist is not going to resonate with professional speakers. They don't care. It's just, they're not interested. Even people who don't identify as a virtual assistant, even though technically they are within the industry, they're not going to resonate either. I want people who do resonate with that terminology and that concept. So make it specific, because then you've got quality, not quantity. And with a CRM, you pay more if you've got quantity. You don't want quantity, you want quantity, but it's got to be quality for you to bother paying for it. So that's the first thing, is to come up with something. So you need to understand who your target market is and what their pain points are. So the first step in resolving getting them from where they are now to closer to onboarding, it's the first question they have, answer that in the opt-in, okay? And then with the onboarding process, I've got the WOW client checklist or Mission WOW client checklist. And the idea of that is to wow your clients by being consistent and having good communication and understanding of what they need from you. So you can modify that list I highly recommend you modify that list so that it works for you in your business. But what I've done is just created a list there of the steps that you need to be taking to support your clients. So the things you need to be asking, the things you need to be doing, and they're there in the checklist. It's very, very simple. And also, if a client actually isn't a good fit for you, a couple of things that you can do there. And so with those, if you can have those, you can add in things that are more relevant to you. You can create a workflow in your CRM to remind you to do those things, and some of them the workflow can actually do for you. Or you can just have a printout and just work through it for each client, however way works for you, to make sure that you're gathering the right data, you're getting the right documents signed, you're communicating clearly, you're both on the same page, you're delivering, you're getting clarifying, and you're getting testimonials at the end. And we'll talk more about testimonials further into the course. So that's the whole process with that onboarding. And there's a lot in there too about that you can be adding in there if you need to. And this is where you can start with your processes. You haven't got any processes yet. This can be a process, is that checklist. And having a think about some of the fears that those people may have as they're coming in, and how you can ease that and make things a bit easier for them. So maybe you've got some stuff you can send them to tell them what the process is, how you're going to be supporting them, giving them guidance and understanding. So, you know, I've worked with quite a few VAs before, and my favorite ones are the ones that say, okay, this is how it works. First, we're going to do this, and then this. So one step at a time, but this is what it's going to look like. And I love that, because even though it's a list at the start and I'm like, they say in there, I'm going to hold your hand the whole way through. Don't you worry. These are the steps. And then that way I can be, I'm not uncertain. I'm not open in the air going, how does this work? What's included? You know, what do I do next? I have had service providers where that's happened, where I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do, and this is great, thank you, I'm so excited. And then they don't actually tell, like they might say, oh, this is the first step, and we do it, and then I actually don't know what's happening next. And they may be amazing, and they're going to deliver, and it's going to be great, but I don't know what's happening next, and I feel really uncertain, and I feel confused, and these are not things you want your audience to be feeling. So I'm trying to alleviate that. And I've seen some really amazing people actually fall into that trap. You can also assume a lot. You can assume that a client will know what the next steps are, which is what's probably, you know, the situation in most of the time when that happens, is that they think that you know what the next step will be, but just assume that nobody knows anything about it, and just, yeah, make sure that you, even if it's just the most obvious thing, you know, I'm going to send you an agreement and blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, so with my social media stuff, the Facebook advertising, at the start, and it was a bit like full on for me. I'm like, well, okay, that's what's going to happen. But I'm like, whoa, that's awesome. I don't understand a lot of it, but it's awesome, because she had said, this is going to be phase 1. This is what's included in phase 1, and then what we're going to do is this in phase 2, and there's going to be some bullet points in there that you don't even understand, and that's okay. And then there's phase 3, and this is what we're going to do. And I'm like, man, she's got this. She's all over it. I'm excited and terrified, but more excited, you know. And it gets I don't know, it gets you excited about it, but it also gets you moving forward on it. So I include next steps because it helps me with what's next. Exactly, Claire. So then you know what they are doing next, and they know what they're doing next. So yes, very, very good. Yes, Narelle, you do need to mansplain everything. You've got to assume that everybody's an idiot, but do it in a really nice and friendly way. And it's not so much because everyone's an idiot. Like, we just say that. But we're all super busy. We've all got our own area of expertise. And there are a lot of things that each and every one of us say, and they should say, don't want to know, don't want to know, don't want to know. And they don't want to know how it works in terms of how it works, but they do need to know what the next steps are. So they need to know what the next steps are, but they don't want to have learnt it. Do you know? They don't want to have, like, just give them the steps. They don't want to learn it because they've got enough. You know, it's not that they're an idiot. They just, it's like, so for me, it's around my security on my laptop. My husband and my brother-in-law are very techie, and I've always said to them, I know what's in the pantry. I don't know which software you're using for security. You don't care what's in the pantry. I don't care what software. You do your thing, I'll do my thing, right? Doesn't make me any less smart. Doesn't make them any less smart. Just stick to your own thing, right? But they do need to say to me, this is going to come up. You're going to get this email. You need to do this. And I go, okay, la, 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 la. When I had my trademark issue last year where IP Australia had my accounts confused, Christine Kelly, she said to me, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get this document, send that through, and then they'll do this, and then we'll need this document, and they'll do this, and we need this document. Okay. Awesome. Because each step, she just emailed me and went, all right, this is this bit, so sign this and send it back. And I was like, oh my God, I was able to just let go of any worries about that and focus on what I do. Okay, so so it's not that people are idiots, some are. It's that we actually don't want them spreading their knowledge too thin. So just keep it simple and educate and just, you'll get a lot less, you'll actually have a lot less of that micromanaging if you outline the steps right from the get-go, because you're taking control and you're saying, this is how it's going to work. This is what I'm going to be doing. Like, so you don't have to break down, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm going to send you this file. I'm going to work on this. This will be delivered. You know, like the core steps, so that they go, oh, okay, cool. You know what you're doing. I feel assured that you know what you're doing. And those little bits in there I need to do, and you'll tell me when they come up. And I feel cool about that. And that's what you want them to feel. Okay. So think about that with your onboarding process in terms of ways to ease their, uncertainty, their fear around having someone support them with their business, which is, as we all know, a really personal thing. You've created it yourself. It's your business baby. And, it's quite hard to let people in. So really respect that process and respect the fact that they are being brave enough to let you in and to let go, because some people just can't do it. And they go, oh, I just can't do it. And you're like, really? Because you're going to have to do everything yourself forever. And it's a really challenging trait to have. And so if they want to move forward, they have to work through that. And the people that sign up with you have worked through that. They've gotten over themselves, or they're working on getting over themselves and putting their ego aside and saying, okay, I know that to move forward, I need to let you in and I need to let go, which for some people is really, really hard. Okay, so any questions? So you've got the opt-in. Send through any drafts you have or any ideas you have if you want ideas around that. And then, have a look at the Mission Wow checklist and, see if there's anything you can add to it, or see if you can set it up within your CRM if you've selected one. Okay? I've only got one. My dog has opened the office door, so I can hear everybody else in the house now. Thank you, Abby. I bet you when this video finishes, that will be the face that it'll pick, or me doing that it'll pick for the preview graphic. All right, just give you a few minutes to ask any questions. Make sure you do watch the video as well and have a look at everything that's in the portal. Let me know how you're going with the portal. If there's anything in there that you don't like, or if you do particularly like, let me know. I'd love your feedback. Yes. Okay, not getting any questions, so I'll finish up. And thanks for jumping in tonight. It's great to see all those names popping up. And remember, you can, I recommend anytime from now on, you can book in your one-to-one session with me. So the link for that should be in the announcements in this Facebook group. I'll double check. And that just shows you what my calendar looks like and lets you book in for a half-hour one-to-one. And you can ask any questions there. I do have a lot of people who want to nut out the opt-in or their ideal client in that. So you can wait till towards the end. Just remembering that basically Christmas and January I don't work. But yeah, you can tap into that from any time. Okay? All right. Either Facebook isn't telling me if you're making comments or you're not. So I'm going to head off. Thanks, guys.